morning. Well, I was going to have a different, more research-oriented presentation, but the politics of spirituality in Brazil for me to change it. So now the subject is a little different. Yeah. So first point is normality as delusion, and the point here is that our sensations are a continuum. For example, the subject and the object, there is absolutely no gap that separates one from the other in our consciousness and in our continuum of sensations. And also, there is nothing that separates what we take as a figure from what we live as ground. That separation is done by consciousness, by our perceptive function, and therefore there is no substance, because substance implies that it is in itself not depending on anything else to be what it is. So since the division between subject and object and the division between figure and form, on which depend duality and plurality, are depending on the mind, on the perceptive function, that means they are not substantial. And if we go to physics, we come to the same conclusion, because according to current physics, the universe is a continuum of energy. There are neither gaps with no energy, nor a substance different from the energy to introduce the separations. And of course, our mind and our consciousness is part of the same continuum of energy. We are certainly not Cartesian subjects, because otherwise we could not connect with the body if we were substance absolutely different from the spatial and physical part of our being. Then, the second part is the root of this delusion. What delusion? The delusion is the perception of substantial duality and substantial plurality. That is the delusion. Then, in Buddhism, this delusion, unawareness and delusion, because there is an unawareness of our true condition, and there is a delusion which is a distorted perception of what there is. In the Dzogchen teachings, which are the teachings that I've been practicing for many years, practiced on the mountains in Nepal for many years, we separate different types of avidya, and we combine two different classifications. The first type of avidya is just unawareness of our true condition by an element of stupefaction that somehow conceals the condition, makes us unaware of that true condition. The second aspect of avidya is the perception of luminosity. Luminosity refers to whatever manifests through the senses as an external reality. And that depends on endowing a very subtle, a super subtle concept with an illusion of truth and substantiality. It's a reification or a hypostatization of that concept. It's called Trimandala in Sanskrit. I render it as threefold directional thought structure. Then the third type of avidya, it has to do with perception of reality in terms of concepts. Because we have a preconcept, we take something as figure and we leave the rest at ground. And we perceive the figure in terms of that concept and feel that it is itself the concept, and that it is in itself separate from whatever was left as ground. And that is a delusion. All of this is delusion. Subject and object are not separate from each other. They are part of a continuum, and figure and ground the same, yet we feel that there is a substantial duality and a circumstantial plurality. And finally, what that has to do with a type of concept that is called artasamanya in Sanskrit, but that's beside the point. I have written a lot about that, and whoever wants to get deeper into this can go to my work, and to most of it is available freely in my webpage. Finally, the fourth type of avidia is an unawareness of the fact that we are under delusion, and an unawareness of the fact that we are unaware of our true condition. It's a meta-delusion, it's a confusion about the fact that we are confused, a distortion of the fact that we are distorting reality, and so on. That, of course, involves all these mechanisms that Freud somehow named repression, and that Sartre called bad faith, self-deceit, Ronald Lang called illusion, and so on. Okay. Now let's understand how this delusion comes about. Yeah? We said that sensa, or the universe, is a continuum, is analog. Our concepts are discontinuous, they are digital. So that's a key difference. When we perceive the analog, the continuous, in terms of concepts which are discontinuous and which are digital, we are distorting reality. And when we feel that that distortion is the true condition of reality, and that we are perceiving perfectly, in a perfectly correct way what is there, then we are absolutely deluded. So that is a point that I wanted to emphasize somehow. Yeah? This delusion called avidya, according to the Dzogchen teachings and the Tantric teachings, and also Taoism and some Shaiva traditions and so on, and many other traditions, have been increasing as time develops, which is absolutely contrary to the worldview of modernity, according to which everything is progressing and improving. In this alternative view, everything is degenerating. Why? Because delusion is increasing. And as delusion increases, we develop hostility towards what we perceive as other, and we also develop a fragmentary perception. And what does that mean? For example, I feel totally separate from the universe, so I want to grab and use for my profit whatever I feel is profitable, and I want to destroy it or push away whatever I feel is threatening for me. And since I have a fragmentary perception, I am absolutely unaware of the fact that everything is interconnected, and that if I destroy too many variables of reality, I will destroy the whole net of life on which our own life depends. That was illustrated by the Buddha Shakyamuni in the Pali Canon, in the Udana, and in the Mahayana Canon, in the Tathagata Sutra, with the story of the famous story of the blind man with the elephant. This king got this group of men, and he asked them, they were blind, yeah, asked them to tell him what they had in front of them. And what was in front of them was an elephant. So adapting the story a little bit to our time, we could say the one who grabbed the trunk said it was a hosepipe, a fireman hosepipe. The one who grabbed a tusk, he said it was an iron hook for moving ice blocks. The guy who got an ear said it was a fan, let's say. The one who put his hand on a knife said it was a bowl. The one who put his hand on the back of the elephant, Cyril was thrown, another one embraced a leg, and Cyril was a pillar, and finally the last one got the tail of the elephant, and he threw it away and ran away, shouting it was a snake, yeah? Probably poisonous, venomous. And this is very much our perception. Therefore, we are suffering of a delusion. This is absolutely different from whatever, for example, the Amazonian Indians used to do. There is a research by a French ethnologist, Philippe Descola, and the zones, the areas of the Amazon that have the greatest biodiversity are the ones that have been inhabited by longer time. Whereas there is, for example, a book by Tom Dale and Vernon G. Carter called Topsoil and Civilization, and they prove that nearly all the big civilizations destroy themselves due to the bad use of the environment, the natural environment that they incur in. So, of course, we could think that civilizations did that because there was too many people. I have no time to go into this, but this has to be discarded. There are the research by Jacques Cauvin, another French ethnologist, who proved that the origins of agriculture were not due to overpopulation and lack of resources, but they were due to a psychological turnabout that occurred at some time. And in my view, it has to do with the loss of capacity for communion, that is, for having a common experience of the true condition of the whole of reality and of all human beings and the whole of nature. And, well, at any rate, we are now at the point at which we are about to destroy the ecosystem, that civilization previously destroyed themselves, but no one had so much power as to destroy the ecosystem, but we developed the modern project of technological control, and we are about to destroy ourselves. And what does that mean? It means that we are, I'm changing a little bit what is on the anyhow, it's still a different page in there. Previously, we could not change, we could not undergo a radical change, a radical healing of this delusion, which is now about to destroy our species. Why? Because, well, Lex was saying, for example, that now I could refer to the same difference between the digital and the analog related to the two brain hemispheres. And for example, the right hemisphere, the analog, which is what Freud in the project of 895, he called primary process, that allowed for non-negation. So I cannot say that something is wrong, that there is something that is a pathology that is going on, and stop it consciously, because in primary process, in the right side of the brain, that will be read as an affirmation rather than a negation. But we come to the point now at which the effects of our actions have proved that we are wrong. And this is very much what wisdom traditions do. They make people come to the point of breaking, which is only at that point that real change can happen. And it has also to do with the explanation that Gregory Bateson offered regarding so-called schizophrenia as a psychosis, as something that is impelled, that is pushed by the thanatos, the Freudian thanatos. We know that Freud developed this concept in the study of the neurosis of repetition, in which people compulsorily incur more and more and more in a behavior that has painful results. And only when we come to the point at which the pain is too much and we have come to a threshold. Only at that point is change possible. And how is it possible? It's not possible because we say no. It's like, for example, we have an elastic band and we pulled it and pulled it and pulled it and pulled it until the point where it breaks. So that is what happens, and I think we are at that point. And I think the fact that there is transpersonal psychology now and that there is so much search for Eastern religions, for American spirituality, pre-Hispanic, and so on, is a proof that something is happening, and my bet is that we collaborate to make this change happen so that rather than destroying ourselves, we go into the new age of plenitude and harmony and collaboration between human beings and the ecosystem. So I changed a little bit